Welcome to Rumbo Minero. My name is Jorge, and this gentleman next to me is Cesar. How are you doing today, Cesar?
What a pleasure, Jorge.
We are going to develop this great program with many topics. Today, we are honored to have as our guest Roque Benavides, the president of the board of directors of Buenaventura Mining Company, to talk about the armed forces against illegal mining and various topics. Who else, Cesar?
We have Víctor Gobitz, who today presides over an important mining company, Quila, and who has also been president of the National Society of Mining, Petroleum and Energy, to talk about the formalization processes precisely.
Absolutely. It's vital for all Peruvians to proceed. To comprehend the complexities of Peruvian mining, and Rumbo Minero aims to facilitate an understanding of its many facets. Mining in Peru. We also have a group of suppliers, those interested in becoming suppliers. Pay close attention, as many changes are expected in this program. Stay tuned for updates and important announcements. Now, we kindly ask you to accompany us as we present the top mining news stories of the week.
This week's top mining news headlines are here to keep you up to date. The Minister of Energy and Mines presented the mining investment project portfolio for 2025, consisting of 67 mining projects being developed in 19 areas. These regions represent an investment of $64,071,000, intended to foster and commence mining activities such as exploitation or beneficiation. According to the report, the existing investment portfolio has increased by 17.4%, equivalent to $9,515 million in dozen. The growth accounts for a substantial gain in the overall value of the assets. In comparison to the statistics provided in the 2024 release, there are a total of 51 projects with a combined value of $54,556 million. And this increase is largely due to the incorporation of 19 new projects. SENAS approved the modification of the environmental impact study for the mining exploitation and benefit project at the Pampa del Pongo mine, located in Arequipa and Ica, which involves a sustainable investment for the country's economic development of more than $1,798,080 million. The project is located in the districts of Bella Union and Lomas, Caravelí province in Arequipa, and in the district of Marcona, Nazca province, Ica. The modifications consist of changing the mining method from open pit to underground operations, changes in the processing plant, and the inclusion of a mineral pipeline to the port of San Juan de Marcona in Ica, among others.
Thanks to Gabriela Chicoma for the key mining updates this week. We are now joined by Roque Benavides, an engineer and the current president of the board at Buenaventura Mining Companies. Your insights are greatly appreciated. Roque, how are you? Welcome to Rumbo Minero.
Thank you very much for this new opportunity. Congratulations, of course, to Rumbo Minero for their coverage of the mining sector.
Thank you very much. Roque, there are a few things we'd like to discuss with you since a lot has happened since your last appearance on the program. And we have come to understand that President Dina Boluarte has officially enacted a law that alters Legislative Decree 1095, enabling the armed forces to intervene in the fight against illegal mining. Well, we know about the issue of fighting against illegal mining. We have suffered from it for many years. Do you think this new approach of the president, where she signs matters for the armed forces to be able to intervene, indicates a shift? There have been a number of various interventions, if I may emphasize. But do you truly think this is the direction we should pursue?
Illegal mining, informal mining, and the issue of informality in Peru's society and economy are pressing matters. It's a very complex issue. And I think that, of course, some force should be applied. But I am one of those who believe that market mechanisms are the ones that should function. To simplify the permit process, creating an easier pathway for informal activities to be formalized, I believe this is the area we should focus on. I've mentioned it previously in this program. Let's prioritize working on it. The World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, which work in so many places around the world where there is also informality, I believe they have systems in place to regulate the economy efficiently. The other day I was having a conversation with a doctor academic. What he was telling me, well, we have to let the informal workers be able to work. The truth is that it is evident we must contribute to creating many more opportunities for more people. However, it is essential to emphasize that environmental care and workplace safety will not be compromised under any circumstances. Having a mining concession or owning a formal company with one allows for legal exploration and extraction rights in the mining industry. It's not that they can just freely allow another small miner to operate, because the responsibility regarding environmental issues, the responsibility for security matters, falls on the concessionaire. So, at this point, we have a subject to talk about well before we consider putting the force in front. I believe that our armed forces can certainly make a contribution, but I believe that the market mechanism could play a larger role, is the answer to...
You have pointed out a crucial word, Roque, which is complexity. Complexity is also reflected in concurrency. Various entities and public institutions are coming together to establish a formalization policy. The state alone has identified a total of 18 entities involved in this process that are involved, and you've mentioned some aspects, environment, security. Well, in short, a series of the problem is who should lead this and how we should ensure that this concurrency does not become more of an obstacle for each entity. Rather, impose a blockade to prevent the implementation of a real formalization policy.
I believe that we need to strengthen the Ministry of Energy and Mines,
The MINE must
and
lead.
also that there is the single window initiative that ex-minister Romulo Mucho talked about, for whom I have great respect, a man, I always repeat, who came from Puno in the south of Peru, a man who studied at the National University of the Altiplano, a man with a strong sense of social responsibility, in addition to being a skilled mining technician. I believe that the one-stop shop is fundamental. For this, the Ministry of Energy and Mines must be strengthened. I think that the investment in establishing a high-quality formalization office is worthwhile, and that it can, bouncing ideas off the other ministries is essential. It should not be that the mining industry suffers immensely. While big companies may withstand it, the smaller miners will not be able to endure the same plight. At its core, the system is perverse because it promotes large-scale mining, which takes years to bring into production, but it makes life difficult for the small miner, preventing them from ever becoming formalized. One can never truly advance in a formal sense. Thus, I believe it is essential to empower the Ministry of Energy and Mines.
Roque, we are starting the election campaign now. There's much discussion surrounding the illegal mining activities responsible for moving over $14 billion. There's a lot of discussion about help to the campaigns and the candidates, right? With this cash from illegal mining, it's obvious that in order to, later on, there's no such thing as a free lunch, as they say, right? Later on, call in favors such as ensuring that the reinfo continues without any changes and things of that nature. Do you have concerns about the upcoming electoral campaign in relation to the participation of illegal mining that is unwilling to legalize? Because we know that some people can make good things happen. To legalize, and it's a problem, but there are also those who don't want to do it. No?
For numerous years, drug trafficking was believed to have a significant impact on Peruvian society and politics, shaping its course and influencing its development. Currently, informal mining is a big deal. Based on the figures, and I can't calculate it, informal mining is reportedly 6 times larger than drug trafficking in Peru, which is a major cause for concern in the present day. It's the blend of all that illegal stuff. They are fellow citizens who at their core support one another, and the government ought to be involved to formalize these matters so that we can all understand what is being carried out. There are rumors circulating that suggest there may be representatives of informal and illegal miners in the Congress of the Republic, but I cannot verify this information, nor is it about making baseless accusations against anyone. However, the challenge we must confront today more than ever is the issue of unofficial, unlawful mining, often linked with criminal activities. And naturally, we must also persist in the battle against drug trafficking. However, we have various fronts to address, don't we?
One tool that is frequently demanded, Roque, is specifically to conduct the mapping and the census. Within the informal mining sector, Cecilia Hulkarima, whom you know, presides over the National Society of Small-Scale Mining. Previously, alongside us at Rumbo Minero, SNMPE emphasized the importance of conducting a census as a valuable tool. Do you share her view on the significance of carrying out a census?
I believe there has to be a census, of course. It has to be, people nowadays talk in this digital age about data. But what is data? Data is basically crucial information that we require to address the issue at hand. Having sufficient information is key to solving the problem effectively. When I hear that there are teams associated with the yellow line, I mean large teams that are entering certain areas of Peru with informal workers, I wonder who is selling those teams. I need to gather information from the mining suppliers, as an example, okay? What are they selling and who are their customers? There is a line between the seller, the official supplier that provides goods to the informal miner. I believe there must be something there that needs to be clarified. The processing plants are also a big mystery. Who is purchasing those plants? Who carries all that material through the roads of Peru? And no one knows if it's mineral legal or if it is mineral, stolen mineral, or if it comes from a concession that does not belong to the miner, who is exploiting it. And that needs to be clarified. All of that requires information.
At this moment, to conclude, Roque, well, tell him now that we are already entering with Rumbo Minero at a national level. Hey, could you kindly elaborate on the significance of legal mining and its historical consequences for us, please? On the back of a mule and to many stories, everything that was lived, for example, in Buenaventura, everything that is doing legal mining despite the bureaucracy and despite everything. Tell us a little about the history of...
I believe it is important to remember that many companies started with an effort, large at a time when there were not even any roads available. I always remember hearing my father talk about arriving from Hoyon to what is today the mine of Uchuchacua, of course on the back of a mule, and the Orcopampa mine in the province of Castilla. It was necessary to depart from the village of Chuquibamba as well, riding on a mule, and reach the mine from Orcopampa. Those were different times. Peru has progressed a lot in terms of road infrastructure. When we talk about electrical connectivity and digital connectivity, however, the mining industry has played a crucial role in the economic decentralization that Peru has undergone, and this is a positive development. We Peruvians tend to be very complaining, and I think we must acknowledge the effort that has been made in that regard. The mining sector in Peru makes up about 15% of the gross domestic product, which implies that from all that is produced in Peru, 15% is the mining industry. This accounts for roughly 60% of exports, and if we find ourselves in need of capital goods and imported materials, we need to export. It accounts for 50% of the electricity consumption in Peru. What happened in Spain yesterday cannot happen in Peru, because the mining industry is the backbone of the electric industry in Peru. And this allows 100% of the population in Peru to have very cheap energy costs, among the cheapest in the world. People talk about added value. Of course, added value is the transformation of metal into a consumer product. But added value is also the integration with the rest of the economy, as Mr. Luis Carranza says. To me, the most outstanding Minister of Economy we have ever had in Peru. At the moment when the mining industry argues that communities and the most modest households should have access to affordable electricity, that is added value, the decentralization, the infrastructure that has been developed as a result of that mining industry. That is why we should not be ashamed to say that the mining industry does contribute and does add value to the national economy. I have dedicated the majority of my life working in the mining industry. And I am very proud of what has been done. I am very proud of my ancestors and of what national mining has achieved. I believe it is very important that free-to-air television Channel 5, at this moment I have provided them with shelter so that you can access many sites in our cherished Peru, rural areas. People don't realize how difficult it is to work in inhospitable areas, regions so far from our homeland. How can we bring economy to those towns? Naturally, I commend the agricultural sector and salute the agro-industry for their contributions. However, we must bear in mind that mining contributes $45 billion through exports, while the agro-industry generates $12 billion through its exports. I firmly support the development of mining, agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, and other sectors within our capacity. Let's promote economic growth. Poverty does not wait. We must work to prevent there from being poor people in Peru.
Thank you, Roque Benavides, for joining us once again as the chairman of the board of Minas Buenaventura. Your presence is much appreciated as always.
Thank you very much to you, to Dr. Campos, to you, Jorge. We are committed to always sharing a positive message with our country, ensuring our availability.
Thank you. Break for commercials. Be right back shortly. We have now come to the international block that is America Mining. This specific section holds significant importance and features José Gonzáles, who is the esteemed international editor of Rumbo Minero. José, how are you doing today?
Great to be here with you, Jorge. Excited for our time together.
Okay. José, the International Monetary Fund has just cut its expectations for worldwide economic growth, indicating that the world is currently at a critical crossroads due to shifts in public policy. What is the fund referring to?
It basically points out that there is a high level of uncertainty globally. As a result of escalating tensions in global trade, effective global tariffs have surged significantly from 2.2% to 22%, impacting international commerce, 100 following the announcements from the Trump administration, regardless of the fact that these tariffs have been postponed for 90 days. The tension continues to persist, indicating that it is unlikely to dissipate soon. Therefore, the United States is taking a step back to assess and understand the repercussions of the situation. Economic projections were announced in January, and they will be reviewed in April. The fund, which used to review these projections twice a year, is now reviewing them between 4 and 6 times. And what do they indicate? That the global economy is going to grow. The growth rate was 0.5 percentage points lower than the 3.3% forecasted in January, coming in at 2.8% instead. The United States has a ratio of 1.8 to 2.7, which is significant, nearly 1%. China's growth is expected to increase from 4.6% to 5%, while India is projected to be the new leader in global growth, with a growth rate ranging from 6.2 to 6.5%. What do they say about Latin America? Mexico enters a recession. On the contrary, the area is likely to experience a period of mild stagflation with the resurgence of inflation. Low growth. The most important case, Brazil. Which country is the star in terms of growth and inflation according to the International Monetary Fund? Peru stands out as the bright spot in the Latin American universe, the brilliant blue point of the region. With a growth of 2.8% in the gross domestic product, the average in the region will be 2%. And an inflation of 1.7%. They announced that Bolivia is entering a crisis, a significant crisis. It affects us due to the issue of illegal gold and Bolivian migration to the country. The demand for souls in Bolivia has just arrived from Colombia, and they accept souls in Medellin curiously. And optimism regarding Argentina.
Hey, Jose, we have discussed the fluctuation of copper and gold prices, but oil prices haven't been our main focus. Let's shift our attention to that sector now, because of a substantial drop in prevailing prices, and also in futures contracts. Tell us a bit about that.
Cesar, do you recall when the price of oil surged over $100 due to the conflicts in Ukraine and Israel? It was a significant event in the market, and it goes down, adjusting between 70 and 74 sacks, with Brent crude oil at $65 a barrel. Analysts link the drop in the WTI index to the uncertain trade ties between the United States and China, particularly regarding tariffs, which are seen as a major factor in its decline. International trade is affected by an oversupply of oil and the increasing OPEC quotas, which demands immediate attention and resolution. Be maintained going forward. According to analysts, oil could close this year at $70 per barrel, but no more. An indicator like the price of copper is recovering. The price of gold is correcting. There will be ongoing economic activity, but it will not be sufficient enough to foresee high quotations associated with metals used in industrial processes.
Very well. Thank you very much to Jose Gonzales. Jose, I suppose we will have all these topics in the magazine. Mining course. The magazine Rumbo Minero, attention to suppliers from the mining sector or those who want to be suppliers of the mining sector. This is the vehicle. The most crucial instrument for being able to, they provide their products to every single mining company out there. You go to www.rumbominero.com and you can download the magazine for free to have all these topics we discuss as well in the show, obviously. At this point, we have a special mention to make, and that is for Cesar.
That's right, Jorge. We are going to give the first keyword for the mining pack raffle. This word is copper. Copper, don't forget. Let's go to a commercial break.
We are currently in our studios interviewing Víctor Gobitz, who previously served as the president of the National Society of Mining, Oil and Energy. He has now taken on a new role within the organization. As CEO of Killer Resources, Víctor, welcome back to Rumbo Minero. How are you doing today?
Jorge, thank you very much for the invitation, and to you too, Cesar.
The Minen has indicated that the validity of the reinfo will be extended as part of a mining formalization strategy. The reinfo is expanding, but more requests will come. Everything is being arranged. What do you think about this?
A bit unclear, right? Let's not forget that the minister himself took office after Minister Mucho left abruptly, said that 6 months were sufficient for the extension of the reinfo. It should be clearer. I would ask for more clarity, because what we all need to be aware of is that formalization is not a process that can last forever, right? Formalization is important to ensure that there is no criminality, to ensure that there are adequate working conditions, to ensure that throughout the entire work chain that ultimately produces gold, there is well-being for the people and the environment where they operate.
The alternative that Minen is considering is to create, precisely as Jorge has mentioned, a platform that allows first access to credit, financing, and second, technical assistance, which they say is what's needed. Here, the main spokesperson for Minen regarding the issue of formalization told us that this year at least 5,000 would be formalized, announcing the possibility of extending the reinfo, which has finally been done. It is possible, first, that the 5,000, firstly, it can be legally registered and formalized, and secondly, what do you think about this alternative they are working on regarding these 2 points?
See, the key point is that it involves a person, a tiny miner, or a small craft operator, if we want to put it that way. If you want to engage in mining activities, you must have permits, titles, and it must be supervised. You see, it's not a straightforward activity such as taking a car and creating a bus service. It's not the same as running a cellar, nor is it like going fishing. This is done in a precarious way. Engaging in underground or open pit mining activities poses significant risks. Hazardous for all those involved, and if not properly managed, the clearings can lead to issues. We create a liability for the entire society. We must acknowledge that this activity requires formalization in order to proceed properly. It cannot remain in a state of eternal formalization, and secondly, no less important, is the titling, the mining concession. If there is a title holder in a mining concession and I want to enter that mining concession, I must reach an agreement. I cannot formalize the invasion. This is something that is that clear, and therefore the norm of reinfo, however we want to call it, should be conscious of the fact that engaging in this activity carries risks. Therefore, strict regulation and supervision are essential to ensure safety. There are people around this activity. It is difficult for us to consider their poverty, and while it is a way of life, we will romanticize the issue and overlook the reality of the situation. That's not right. It shouldn't have that spirit. Moreover, laws and regulations. If there is one, the same state has granted that mining concession title to another person, to another entity, and I have an interest. I want an agreement. It's not that by invading I formalize what cannot be formalized through the direct interaction between two people is something that must also be crystal clear.
Victor, with your expertise in the field, on data change are effective. And you know, they are already discussing the 14 billion that mining is currently managing. Legal. Much more than legal mining, which has never happened to us before. Are you worried about the political campaign? These individuals act as patrons, assisting politicians with the expectation of calling in favors later. No. People typically provide financial support with the intention of seeking favors in return. Are you worried about what might happen in this campaign?
Of course it is concerning, but on the other hand, I think we all are, and we are seeing it on television, what has happened with all those former presidents of the Republic that have been financed with money, let's say, in an irregular manner, right? The cases are evident, very recent, without naming people names. Therefore, it is crucial for all of us to recognize that the nation necessitates a level of formality. The nation requires businesses to expand in scale. Unfortunately, that's not possible. To fill up with small businesses, thinking that we will grow through artisanal mining in a perfect scenario. Regrettably, artisanal mining falls short in fully fostering the activity in a, shall we say, traditional manner. Correct, suitable manner as it should be done. It does not explore adequately. It does not prepare the mine adequately. It does not ventilate the mine adequately. It does not sustain the mine adequately. And we pretend that this will be sustainable. Unfortunately, it is not. That is not sustainable. But I'm not worried about your question regarding the campaign because I believe that there are examples that ultimately show it. You know, justice does arrive, maybe a bit late, but if someone aims to finance themselves in an improper way, the examples are updated.
Some people really get the formalization process mixed up with the study being conducted in the Energy and Mines Commission of Congress, the MAPE law, right? Of the small-scale mining, artisanal mining, and the small scale. At this juncture, Victor, how do you perceive the development of the discussion surrounding the MAPE law?
Look, the MAPE law acknowledges that there is an activity at an artisanal and small-scale level, which, when appropriately managed, means can become formalized and easily integrated within a broader system, facilitating expansion. I am firm in my belief that striving for correctness in creating a MAP law is essential and necessary to progress in a formal manner. That allows respect for the law, for the rule of law, that allows transparency, that allows oversight by state entities. In my opinion, it would be best to eliminate this concept, this limbo known as reinfo. A significant issue that has arisen and must be part of this equation is how we are going to oversee the processing plants. Over the years, due to regionalization and because of this, regional governments facilitate the authorization process for constructing and operating processing plants, ensuring efficiency and ease in obtaining approval. Processing plants without mines have emerged. Plants without mines cause this, so to speak, this rupture of the right equation, since the small miner, the artisanal miner, or the miner with a reinfo title, would not be able to complete the circuit without a plant to process. Therefore, whatever the solution of the MAPE law, and even that of reinfo, the processing plants must be part of the strict oversight that the state must undertake to ensure that they are not processing minerals that have been obtained illegally, or they may be processing minerals acquired with mining standards that fall short of expectations, failing to meet the level of fairness that one anticipates in a deal. A decent job for the mining worker.
Victor, we are now reaching a national level. We are being heard in many parts of Peru. How significant is Peru's mining industry worldwide?
You can do it. Thanks for the question, Jorge. It can be said in various ways, right? Peru is the second or third largest producer of copper in the world, right? The same goes for silver. We're second in the world. In the case of tin, a relevant position, 5th or 6th. In the case of zinc and lead, 5th or 6th. That is to say, the country, the geography of the country, the geology of the country. The uniqueness of the Andes has generated significant wealth, and that economic wealth is the foundation of our country's economy. Our nation's economy should be established on adherence to formal processes and structures, on the rule of law, on legality. I believe that once again, I am taking you to that point. I am bringing the answer to that side, don't you think? Peru's production is of great importance in the international arena. Well, we have seen in Peru, and that is palpable, we have investments from all the global firms that are present in it in the world. The top players from Australia, Switzerland, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, from Chile and Australia. We possess a diverse team of skilled operators and top-notch miners due to our exclusive mineral reserves, which set us apart from others. And that should be Peru's aspiration, to grow in a formal manner with larger-scale businesses. Our objective should extend beyond the perpetuation of traditional artisanal mining methods, which will exist, yes, but it must be formal. And it must be formal, and we all must commit to achieving full traceability that is formal. With these gold prices, if we do not manage to formalize this activity, something is failing. The failure is due to it being inadequate. The system is becoming accustomed to partially documenting its actions rather than fully recording all its activities. And there is production that is not recorded, not reported, not taxed, which ultimately generates wealth, disproportionate for a minority group.
Very well. Thank you very much to Víctor Gobitz, CEO of Quilla Resources and former president of the National Society of Mining, Oil and Energy. We sincerely appreciate your presence on Rumbo Minero during this crucial phase, and we look forward to having you back in the future for a more in-depth conversation.
Sure. Thanks.
Let's take a commercial break and we'll be back. All right, as we reach the end of the program, Cesar, it's important what Roque Benavides mentions at the end of the interview about how legal mining has developed in Peru and these great efforts. It is sometimes believed that the transnationals, it's really easy for them to come to a country, right? We've been there. We've traveled to Toronto, Canada, several times to see those global investment events, and Peru does too. It's been around 20 years because I wasn't even in the running for the top players to come here. As Peruvians, we need to recognize that in the mining sector, we rank among the global champions of what mining is, investment in mining.
Víctor Gobitz has affirmed that this is precisely what our audience must understand, allowing them to stay in step with the upcoming developments in the mining industry. It is a lever for economic development, an opening of opportunities, a social commitment, and also a sustainable commitment to the environment. And that is what we are going to develop consistently throughout the upcoming programs.
Mining gives so much, as our interviewees have already said, it gives so much to Peru, that it is crucial for every Peruvian from any region to contribute. A spot in Peru, no matter where you are in the country, stay updated on the mining situation. And that is what we want to do with Rumbo Minero, that you are knowledgeable so that you can take your own decisions about what Peruvian mining represents for you. Extremely important. In this program, you will have, in the upcoming weeks, you will be provided with comprehensive details demonstrating the vital role that Peruvian mining plays in driving the country's progress and development. And naturally, to engage in the battle against extreme poverty. Thank you for being with us today. Don't forget to tune in to this same channel during the weekends. We'll be here waiting for you. Your presence is highly appreciated. Therefore, I will see you this upcoming weekend.